In today's news, mixed reviews on term limits for long-serving politicians. BVI Board Captain Wayne Stout Jr. sentenced. Former police prosecutor Jefferson Knight blasts Royal Virgin Islands Police Force and DPP for prosecutorial misconduct, and Premier says past neglect at the root of infrastructural issues. But these and more stories when 284 News return.
Hon, it's asking for your password.
Huh?
You were logged out. I need the password.
BR.
What's the rest?
BRANDI, the number 4, EVER?
Who's Brandy?
We're like the password that isn't your ex-girlfriend's name. CG Insurance. Good like that.
I should have changed it.
You should have.
You're right. That's out.
That's 6.
That's out.
With worldwide medical coverage and affordable premiums, we're like a home match that isn't played at your actual home. CG Insurance. Good like that.
My turn. Oh, come on, guys.
Well, welcome viewers to the Friday, December 9th edition of 284 News. I am Kamal Haynes, bringing you the latest out of the British Virgin Islands. While leading today's news, residents have expressed mixed reviews on whether term limits should be imposed on local politicians who have long reigns in office. Well, this is according to the chairwoman of the Constitutional Review Commission, Mrs. Lisa Penletsum, who made a disclosure while appearing as a guest on local show Real Talk with host Carrier Christopher. Well, she said the general consensus shared at the Constitutional Review Commission public meetings is that some residents are for term limits, while others are in disagreement with this suggestion.
It is not for us to impose what we feel is best, but our job is to elicit from the public what their views are and what they would like to see. So because we've started the public consultations, we've actually heard this suggestion quite a number of times, and there are pros and cons. Some people are for it and some people are against it. You rightly pointed out, one of the disadvantages with it is optics. Something is not right about accountability if one person is in the legislature for decades without any break or so in between, yes. Especially if that's the case, if they're consecutive terms.
Well, Penletsum also revealed some of the opinions expressed by residents on why they believe term limits should be imposed in the territory.
One of the drawbacks with it that we've heard is that those who are against it say it would lessen the pool of persons who are potentially interested. It would probably make it less attractive for them. Because we have to bear in mind when politicians give up their day-to-day ordinary 9-to-5 job, it's very difficult for them to get back into mainstream if they're not successful in politics. So the argument is that it may make it more unattractive for persons to encourage persons to run for political life if there were term limits.
Well, one compromise to imposing a strict term limit would be the staggering of terms, which the chairwoman said would impose a mandatory break for politicians who serve consecutive terms in office.
Instead of saying that you can only run for 2 consecutive terms and that's it, to say you can only run for two consecutive terms, but then a break of at least maybe 5 years or 10 years need to be in between, and then you can run again, and your term limit will then run afresh.
Understand.
The counter will be reset.
Well, meanwhile, Commissioner Ronnie Skelton expanded on the subject from a political viewpoint. While having previously served as a former minister and opposition leader, he said that term limits, if it does exist, should apply to a select number of positions.
From a political point of view, we all look at the U.S. system.
Yeah.
We come up with this stuff. But if you take the U.S. Congress, there's no term limit. The U.S. Senate, there's no term limit. Where there are term limits is the president and governors.
Right.
You know, so the people that if you're going to be the premier forever, I would say that shouldn't happen. But if we run the best Westminster system, where you have a legislature and you have a premier, then if you put all the systems in place that the Constitution and the
checks and
and the
balances.
standing order talked about, then there'll be no need for, say, term limits for everybody. You can have term limits for the premier, you can have term limits for the speaker. You can have term limits for certain people,
Certain positions
certain positions within the system.
Well, moving on, viewers, where Virgin Islander Wayne Stout Jr. is a 35-year-old BVI boat captain that has been sentenced to 9 years in U.S. prison for conspiracy to distribute cocaine. Well, the sentence was handed down in Orlando, Florida by District Judge Roy B. Dalton Jr. For more on this report.
Virgin Islander Wayne Stout Jr., a 35-year-old BVI boat captain, has been sentenced to 9 years in U.S. prison for conspiracy to distribute cocaine. The sentence was handed down in Orlando, Florida by District Judge Roy B. Dalton Jr. Stout Jr. was caught in June as part of a multi-million-dollar drug bust in the United States. A surveillance operation executed by the Department of Homeland Security showed his co-conspirator Avery Lance, 55, of St. Thomas USVI, as the orchestrator. Lance was convicted and sentenced to 20 years in federal prison for conspiracy to distribute cocaine. According to reports, Lance's sentence was enhanced based on the danger he caused during his attempt escape from law enforcement on June 1, 2022. After his arrest, HSI learned that Lance was convicted of a second-degree murder in 1990 in the Virgin Islands and pardoned in 2014 after serving over 20 years of his 40-year sentence. Lance and Stout were indicted on June 15, 2022. Lance was convicted after a jury trial on October 3, 2022. Stout pleaded guilty on August 19, 2022. A report showed that based on evidence presented during the trial, on June 1, 2022, Stout drove from Miami to Orlando and retrieved a duffel bag from a storage locker in the Edgewater area. Agents from Homeland Security Investigations were conducting surveillance on Stout as he traveled from Miami to Orlando, and as Stout left the storage locker and went to the parking lot of a restaurant in the Winter Park area. At approximately 1:45 p.m., Lance arrived and received the duffel bag in short 30 seconds meeting. After circulating the block, Lance led HSI surveillance agents to the corner of Lee Road and Waymore Road, where he abruptly turned on to Waymore Road in an attempt to escape while dropping the duffel bag out of his passenger side window. After a brief high-speed chase, Lance was detained and the duffel bag was retrieved. It contained 5 kilograms of cocaine wrapped in black tape with a marking on it. When HSI agents searched the storage locker in Edgewater, they found 3 coolers containing 109 kilograms of cocaine, some of which contained the same black and gold marking as the 5-kilogram bricks that Lance was carrying. A kilogram of cocaine was estimated to be worth at least approximately $27,000. Lance was carrying $135,000 of cocaine when he unsuccessfully attempted to flee. The storage locker contained nearly $3 million of cocaine. Reporting for 284 News, Ron Grant.
Well, up next, former police prosecutor Jefferson Knight blasts Royal Virgin Islands Police Force and DPP for prosecutorial misconduct. And Premier says past neglect at the root of infrastructural issues. But these and more stories after a word from our sponsors.
Freeze. Choose your mix. Choose your flavor.
Good job there, brother. All right. I'm surprised you're here.
I'm surprised you're still alive.
Charles, it's been 60 years.
I wish it was 60 more.
Let it go.
No, you know what you did.
It was just ice cream. But you know what? It was delicious.
What?
We're like a family get-together without all the family drama.
What you gonna do?
CG Insurance. Good like that.
Yeah. Lord of Jesus. That line here long like church service.
Alright, do enjoy the rest of the day. Next customer in line, please. Wait, hold on a second.
Yes, Sonny boy, come, yes, Sonny.
Good morning.
Good morning, Sonny boy. Hold on. You must have cut fun topic.
It's okay, I'll take care of it.
What? No man, forget you.
How may I assist you? You want top of power?
You want top of power?
Join the prepaid party with CCT and enjoy more affordable data plans, more top-up promotions, more savings with hero bundles, and more value for your money each and every Tuesday with Top Up Turn Up Tuesday. Visit a CCT store today or anywhere CCT Top Up is sold and top up your phone.
5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. You want top of power?
Well, welcome back, viewers. Well, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions has filed an appeal following the dismissal of the criminal matter against police officer Marley Sebastian. Well, Sebastian, who has been a police officer for more than 18 years, was previously charged with perjury and perverting the course of justice. Well, former police inspector and prosecutor Jefferson Knight, in a recent exclusive interview with 284, spoke on the matter. Well, Knight has long been an advocate for Sebastian, as well as what he calls justice and human rights. Ron Grant has this report.
The Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions has filed an appeal following the dismissal of the criminal matter against police officer Sergeant Marley Sebastian. Sebastian, who has been a police officer for more than 18 years, was previously charged with perjury and perverting the course of justice. Former police inspector and prosecutor Jefferson Knight, in a recent exclusive interview with 284 Media, spoke on the matter. Knight has long been an advocate for Sebastian, as well as what he calls justice and human rights. He began by addressing the charges brought against Sergeant Sebastian.
Well, the offense of perjury is an indictable offense created pursuant to Section 95, subsection 1 of the Criminal Code. And perverting the course of justice is also an indictable offense that is created under the amendments of the Criminal Code of 2002. In the case of perjury, a person can be charged for perjury if that person, while giving evidence or testifying under oath, willfully makes a statement that the person knows to be false or does not believe that statement to be true. If you're looking at the structuring of a criminal offense as it relates to the mens rea and the actus reus, it is a circumstance where the person would have planned that this is what I am going to do. So you have the mens rea where the person is planning that, and then the actus reus, where the person actually gives the testimony under oath, knowing very well that they were going to tell a lie, words to that effect. So basically, in layman terms, that's what perjury is.
The matter was dismissed in the Magistrates Court by Magistrate Kadeen Palmer earlier this week for the want of prosecution after repeated requests were made for the prosecution to provide a transcript of Sebastian's testimony given in a High Court trial earlier this year. The court was reportedly informed that the prosecution had only recently acquired the transcript. Therefore, Sebastian's attorney, Balston Graham, moved that the matter be dismissed after he argued that the charges were filed without any foundation.
Matter dismissed for want of prosecution. Matter dismissed for want of prosecution is a dismissal with prejudice, meaning a dismissal where you cannot just reinstate the charges. Why? In the case of Sergeant Marley Sebastian, which is a case I've been following from inception, as you recognize, because I was concerned that Sergeant Sebastian was charged with 2 criminal offenses when he did not commit a crime in the BVI under the criminal justice system. I can say as a prosecutor, I investigated this matter by reading all the court transcript, reading the voir dire that was held in the High Court, reading the judge's summation. And based on what I have read, I can say 100% that Sergeant Sebastian did not commit perjury in the High Court, and he did not commit the offense of perverting the course of justice. Now, what happened there in the court on the date that you mentioned? It is clear that the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force charged Sergeant Sebastian for perjury in the first place, and at the time, the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force, in accordance with Section 99 of the Criminal Code, did not have in their possession the transcript for the 22nd of February 2022. That is the date on which Sergeant Sebastian would have testified in the High Court. So as I said before, to charge Sergeant Sebastian without that transcript, that alone makes the arrest unlawful on a point of law. In that you did not have the evidence, why did you charge him? That means you did not investigate the case. That means you just received a complaint maybe from the office of the DPP, and you just went ahead and charged him based on what the DPP may have said or based on what the office of the DPP may have said. But the law under Section 95, subsection 5 of the Criminal Code, that is the section which creates the offense of perjury, is also saying that you cannot charge a person just on the evidence of one witness bringing hearsay to you. You have to go and get the transcript.
Knight took the time to explain how the agencies are continuously failing the public.
I want to say to my beautiful people of the British Virgin Islands, this is not about me looking to criticize anybody in their public office. I was part of the system. I helped to make the system better. I know what I did for the system. I'm now retired. I'm still following the system. What is happening there with the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force with this combination of the office of the DPP, just putting people's name before the court? I don't want to call it troubling. I want to call it what it is. It is prosecutorial misconduct. And it is causing innocent citizens to be arrested and charged for offenses that they did not commit. I want my BVI people to don't look at the messenger. I have done my time. I have served you well. I have served Her Majesty. I have served my people. I have retired. It was never my intention or plan to retire so early. Circumstances sometimes could cause you to make decisions, and then you could almost say, as I have always told my family, my biggest regret for retiring is that I had to leave my BVI people that I love so dearly. That is my only regret. My regret is not about, well, I left the police force and hey, I met bad times on the way. My God is a good God. But I have a responsibility as a prosecutor. I have a responsibility being trained into prosecutorial ethics to let my BVI people know that this trend that the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force and the office of the DPP are taking is not in the name of justice.
For the full interview, visit all 284 media platforms.
Well, as the National Unity Government continues to receive criticism for failing to meet public expectations as it relates to repair and upkeep of the territory's road systems, Premier Dr. the Honorable Natalia Wheatley is asking that persons consider the circumstances which have led to the territory to this point. Well, during a recent press conference, Dr. Wheatley stressed that the government is facing a situation of neglect decades in the making.
We've been taking a lot of knocks for the roads, but I just want to speak a little bit more about how do you develop good roads, you know? And what we've suffered from is a lack of investment in infrastructure over the past 20 years. And the minister will not be able to just come and then you have roads that has all the drainage required and all the equipment required to make good roads. So what is it that we require to get good roads? Everybody knows it. Everybody says it. You need drainage. You need properly engineered and constructed roads. And it takes money.
Well, Wheatley went on to explain that while efforts are ongoing to address the issues, the ministry responsible is forced to start from scratch and has been undergoing the process of procuring the necessary equipment to execute the needed roadworks across the territory. But this, he said, begs the question of how recurrent surplus was being utilized in the past.
And the challenge that we have, this is why I say we suffer from a lack of investment over the past 20 years. In the past, you know, we had the recurrent revenue being a lot smaller than it is right now. And so we had big recurrent surplus. And we could fund our capital projects just out of our recurrent surplus. You're talking about recurrent surplus of $50-60 million. You know, and we really have to look back in the past and see, well, how we spent the money. How much of that money did we invest in our water distribution network? How much of that money did we invest in our roads, our guts, etc.? Yes, we paved a lot of roads, but when we paved the roads, did we put the supporting infrastructure in place to make sure that you had proper drainage on the roads? No, we didn't.
Well, according to Premier Wheatley, as it stands, in order to make any real big splash in executing capital projects in the government is then left now to no choice but to borrow.
So we've gotten to a point where the roads are completely in disrepair because over the past 20 years, we haven't been making the investments in the roads. And then we expect Minister Reimer to work a miracle on the roads. And he's completely correct. You have very small recurrent surpluses right now because your recurrent expenditure is so high, which means government has expanded like crazy. Government has gotten bigger. We have more person working in the civil service than any before. We rent more accommodation than ever before. What were we doing in the past? We should have built another complex in the past, before. That's something we have to do now to cut down on all the rented spaces that we have. We have so many other things that are that cause your recurrent expenditure to balloon. And what happens now? Your recurrent surplus is very small, and infrastructure work, you just have a few $1 million every year to invest in it. And for you to really make a big splash in your capital projects now, you have to borrow.
Well, up next, viewers, Rotary Club restores Mangrove Boardwalk, an Argentina vice president convicted in corruption trial. We'll get to those two stories when 284 News return.
So you're saying I can ask this cat any question?
The cat is connected to the computer. You just type in the question, it will read his mind. There the answer comes.
You're the man! I've been looking for this for weeks.
Introducing a show poised to help guide modern-day men into 21st century distinguished gentlemen. It doesn't always involve suits and bow ties, but raw, real-life lessons. I'm taking you outside in the field to share the journey of some of the BVI's the best and brightest men. From East End to West End, Virgin Gorda to Jos Van Dyke, not forgetting Anegada. Our Virgin Islands gentlemen are doing the damn thing. We are the movers and shakers of this generation. The Art of a Distinguished Gentleman. Season 4 by yours truly, Ron Grant. Raising a generation of greatness. Wednesdays at 8 p.m. on 284 Media.
Yo, everything good, Dad?
Aye. This thing got me one way, Daddy.
What do you mean?
Ever since I hook up with this thing, can't eat, I can't sleep. This is the first thing I touch it when I reach home.
What do you really? Hey, this ain't like you know.
Dad, this thing got me staying home, keeping out of trouble me.
Wow. What your name is?
Shit. I talking about my city life.
Don't worry about missing your favorite series, sports, news, and local programming. Come to CCT today and sign up for CCT Live to access over 80 channels. CCT Live. Bring it home.
1 month free trial turn into 5. 5 months turn into, well, you know I huff. I watching ball. I even watching football. Dad, Nickelodeon, Paw Patrol. I am hooked. Hook, I tell you.
Welcome back, viewers. Well, the Rotary Club of Tortola is pleased to announce its partnership with Unite BVI to restore the already complete portion of the Roger Downing Boardwalk that was badly damaged during the 2017 hurricanes of Irma and Maria. Well, here's more on that report.
The Rotary Club of Tortola is pleased to announce the partnership with Unite BVI to restore the already complete portion of the Roger Downing Boardwalk that was badly damaged during the 2017 hurricanes Irma and Maria. No Limit Construction will carry out the works that should take a few weeks. Residents, school-age children, and visitors will soon be able to once again have the Emerson experience in the mangroves at Parakeeta Bay and learn about mangroves, the types that exist within the area, and how mangrove ecosystems are important to the Virgin Islands. This is the first step in a major push by the Rotary Club of Tortola to complete the plans that we have had for quite a while for the Roger Downing Mangrove Boardwalk. This includes an observation tower and a complete loop emerging at an interpretation center, said Vice President Abigail O'Neill and co-chair of the project. She continued, there will be an educational place, cards along the path, as well as benches that organizations may sponsor. The project is to be complete by the members of the Rotary Club of Tortola no later than June 2025, but the Rotary Club of Tortola believes that they can accomplish this much sooner. Dr. Sawuda Smith, Executive Director of Unite BVI, said Unite BVI is a proud partner with the Rotary Club of Tortola to restore this place of enjoyment, discovery, and natural beauty. We are grateful for the opportunity to assist in the preservation of our mangrove forests. Thor Downing said, on behalf of our late father, Roger Downing, we are incredibly pleased and excited to see that movement is being made to restore this incredible structure, and we are greatly looking forward to the future. We thank Rotary and Unite BVI for keeping our family included in this project and for the amazing work being undertaken. It is unclear to some persons how our natural environment can affect our everyday lives and not realize how much of it we take advantage of in free services. This range from air we breathe, the food we eat, and the beaches we travel to recreational activities. Reporting for 284 News, Ron Grant.
On out to some international news where Vice President of Argentina Christopher Hernandez de Kirchner has been sentenced to 6 years imprisonment after being convicted of fraudulent administration for allegedly awarding public contracts to her friend. Well, this is the first time in Argentina's history that a vice president has been convicted of a crime while still in office. But the VP has also been banned from public office for life, but is expected to retain her role as vice president until the case completes its rounds in the higher courts. Fernandez de Kirchner has alleged that the charges against her were politically motivated and described herself as a victim of judicial mafia to the press after hearing the verdict. Or during the trial, she had also been noted to have accused the prosecutors of lying. Her prosecutors alleged that she had led an unlawful partnership during her period as president of Argentina between 2007 and 2015. Well, this was reportedly by way of creating a kickback scheme which directed public work contracts, costing the Argentina government at least some $1 billion. Well, viewers, that's all we have for today's news roundup. Be sure to follow us for daily news updates at 284media.com and like us on Facebook at 284media and 284BVI on Instagram and Twitter. I'm Kamal Haynes. Have a safe and enjoyable weekend.